Hi guys, and welcome back to day 14 of Inktober. So today I just want to talk a little bit about scheduling time and making a plan for getting big projects like Inktober done, where you have to put out a consistent amount of effort and time into it. So for me, I definitely wanted to make sure that all of my pieces were finished and had very similar quality to them, since I am going to be putting them all in a book. I wanted, again, I mentioned this so many times, but I want them all to look consistent and good together as a unit. So that was really important to me, which does end up meaning that each piece takes pretty close to the same amount of time, which is a lot of time. I've had people ask me how long it takes for each one, and it takes usually about 2.5 hours on average to complete the piece itself, sometimes 3.5 if it's a particularly complex piece, but that is only the actual physical drawing of it. There is always a couple hours before that where I'm planning out the illustration and sketching it and finalizing things and fixing errors. So usually it does end up being about 5.5 hours complete total finishing of everything for these Inktober's, which is definitely a lot of time, and I am lucky to be able to be in a position where this is my career, so I can put in the time to creating very complete Inktober illustrations. But it also means that because I have to bust them out every single day, I had to make sure that I had a very strategic plan to make sure that I was getting them done, because even when it is your job, there are just so many other things that need to be done as well. So while I'm coming from a position where I can spend a lot more time on the illustrations, it is something that everyone goes through when they're working on something prolonged like Inktober, whether you're spending that many hours or you're only spending much less time working on each illustration. It still comes down to needing to be able to set aside time and working on it and making sure that you're getting it done. So last year I did it in a different way. So I definitely understand not having as much time to dedicate to just that piece. I was going to school at the time, so it was not, oh, everything was that. Everything was Inktober. But anyways, now that I've gone on and on about that, I actually really struggled at the beginning to make sure that I was getting them done in a good amount of time, and that I was producing the videos so that they could be uploaded in a viewable time, and they weren't like midnight that day of. So yeah, at the beginning it was really, really tough. I was really struggling. I was working at a pace where I would start sketching that morning and then be done, completed, uploaded the video super late. And it was exhausting. And then the next day I'd have to go right back at it. And I was just feeling so burnt out on like the fourth day. And I realized this just isn't working. I need a change of how I'm tackling these things. And it actually took only a small thing. It didn't take less time overall, but I started working on the sketch the night before, so that the morning of I would wake up, I knew what I was doing, and I could just jump right at it. And then I would finish up the video, get it uploaded. And then I'd have a little bit of a break. I'd go eat dinner, I'd watch some stuff, and then I would get back to sketching. And that made a huge amount of difference, honestly. Instead of working almost the entirety of all day on one project and then having to start it all over again, I was having these little built-in breaks that helped. And then I was able to give myself enough time to recuperate, but also in the mornings I was ready to go. I wasn't looking and staring at a blank sheet of paper wondering what I was going to draw that day. And I think that that's something that is really helpful for me in other ways, is when I need to work on something that has to get done, no matter what it is, whether it's a prolonged art challenge like this or when I had big projects, when I had something already moving, already ready to be worked on, I had such a much easier time getting into it and getting into this motivated mindset as opposed to working from scratch. And I think that's just kind of my takeaway, is that there are all these projects that I absolutely want to work on and I've been dreaming about them, but they never end up happening because they're these huge, giant tasks. They're things that I can't spend a whole day working on, but if I were to look at it as I need to start getting some traction, I can get this sketch done for this portion, for this thing, I think that it would be a lot easier to start diving into these things and getting them going. But yeah, overall, I've definitely learned a lot about my time management as well as how I work best and how my creative stamina works best. I don't work well when I have to work from immediately one thing to the next or when I have to work entirely from beginning to end. I work a lot better when I can take little breaks to just not think about it, just to relax a little bit, and then when I come back I have a lot more motivation and excitement for it. But I am really actually very excited about starting to put some of these things into action after Inktober, moving on to my other projects, because I do find that at the end of the day I do not want to just dive in and start a whole new big project. But when I'm breaking it down and looking at it as I'm going to sketch out an idea, that does sound exciting to me, and it does sound relaxing and enjoyable. And it just comes down to mindset. When I'm thinking about it as this small step that's enjoyable and it helps me get a leg up the next day, it's really positive and it's really good. But when I'm thinking of it as this huge project, this insurmountable thing that I can't finish in one night, it feels like it's not worth even starting. So I think just breaking things down into digestible parts of a whole helps me to be able to see that it is completable and finishable, because that's, I think, a big thing, is that I have a really hard time sitting down to work on a project when I don't have very much time at all to work on it. I need to be able to work on it for a couple hours at most, depending on the project. So breaking it down into either things that are short but completable, and I know that it's a thing that I can check it off, or it needs to be something that I can dedicate a lot more time consistently to it. And I know that particularly wasn't all that helpful, but I do think that if you're taking part in Inktober, it is a great time to take stock of what you personally get the best results from, what time of the day works best for you, and what times work best with your schedule, what times work best for you creatively. A lot of people have a certain time of day that they work great when it comes to doing creative tasks, and others, they don't work well at that time at all. And I think that this is just a great time to take stock of really how you work and how personally you get the most out of it, so that after Inktober you can start putting that kind of thing into action so that you can get good drawing habits and get the most out of your time. Because in the long run, that's really all that matters, is that we only have a limited amount of time in the day. There are so many times where I wish that I could just sit down and get another piece done, more stuff done, but ultimately there's only so much time that I can spend in a day, and I need to be able to utilize it the best way possible. And that is it for today's Inktober. I would love to hear in the comments if you guys have any suggestions for talking topics. I definitely would like to talk about some more interesting things, so let me know. I'm really curious on what you guys are interested in. And as usual, I have the original available, so if you'd like to own her, there is a link in the description as well as in the end card, and I post a daily Inktober video, so I will be back tomorrow with another one. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.